Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In the Pit with Lobo Tigre. Our victim of the day is Derek Macpherson. He's CEO of Gold79. This is a new story. I guess it's a renewed story. But Derek, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the company, give us the overview, and then I've got questions.
Sure, absolutely. So Gold79 is a gold explorer, as the name would suggest, in the Southwest U.S., and we're focused primarily on the Walker Lane Trend. As we have three projects there, two in Nevada, Jefferson Canyon and Tip, and where the focus of our work is right now in Arizona is Gold Chain. You know, the company has, those three projects are unique because they've all got historic drilling on them of some nature, actually, and for the most part, sort of turn of the century type production as well. And they're all in good mining jurisdictions, which is part of the reason I'm pretty excited about the company.
Okay, well, that was an admirably pithy overview. So the first question is, I looked at the company's news, and one of the most recent ones is they hired you. So who are you? You look pretty young. What experience do you have to bring to the table? I don't know you.
Yeah, well, I might look young, but I'm not that young. So my background is I've got about just over 10 years capital markets experience. Prior to joining Gold79, I was an investment banker at Red Cloud, and then prior to that, I was a research analyst. I was one of the early employees at Red Cloud and helped build that sort of mining focused business, and that includes marketing, distribution, sales, and along with writing research, being a research analyst, and consummating deals. And so, that breadth of skill set comes in. And prior to that, I was at a couple of other boutique dealers as a research analyst, and I started my career at National Bank. And so, and then prior to all of that, the capital markets experience, I'm actually a metallurgist by training, and I did 6 years sort of in the field as it were prior to that.
Well, that is interesting. Yeah, that last thing gives me some reassurance. I'm hearing all this financial stuff, but the task at hand is exploration. So why would they pick you as CEO? A bit of hard science thrown in there starts to make me feel a little bit more comfortable. But why did they pick you as CEO?
Well, I think there's a couple things that go with it. I'm very lucky from a perspective of who I've got to team up with effectively. We have a very good team. Gary Thompson is an experienced geologist who's our executive chairman. My VPX is Rob Johansson, who's got 45 years experience in the field with epithermal systems, and uniquely all of our projects are epithermal systems. And then on our board, we have a Hall of Fame, mining Hall of Fame geologist in Jim Franklin and Bill Boberg, who's one of the founders of UR Energy. So a really deep breadth of geologic experience around it. And so part of the reason that I was picked, obviously I'm very familiar with the company. I was a director previously. I've helped raise money for it in the past in my prior roles. And so it became, the company was getting to a point where Gary, who was the CEO prior to me, had two jobs, and that just wasn't, it was two jobs too many, one job too many. And so it became a nice point for a transition. Junior mining companies aren't, as much as they are small teams, they are teams still. And so you need all those pieces to do it. And I bring, for this group, I bring probably the most capital markets experiences.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. I mean, I want to talk about the rocks, but let's talk a little bit more about the company itself here. I looked at the stock watch chart, and it looked like it wasn't trading a year ago. Is this some kind of RTO? Was it just a shell on the shelf somewhere, or how did Gold79 get going here?
Sure, the history is actually interesting. So this company, the physically underlying publicly listed vehicle was a company called Aura Resources, or Aura Silver, and it has a longer history as a public company. And they had recently acquired their two assets, Jefferson Canyon and Gold Chain, and we're refocusing on Nevada. They'd previously been in Mexico. We have a joint venture in Mexico with Fortuna Silver and a joint venture in Nunavut with Agnico Eagle, but we're not in control of either of those programs. We need stuff that, obviously as a junior company, you need stuff you're in control of to move ahead. And so they had done these two deals. Gary had put together a private company called Territory Metals, our chairman, and they basically merged those two companies, and that brought in the Tip project. And so basically put the two companies together. That was what happened, I guess, July last year, and then started trading as became Gold79. So short history for the company is Gold79. Over the last year, the focus has been on getting all the projects ready to drill. So work done on surface work done at Tip Top and Jefferson Canyon, and then also we've started a really expanded program at Gold Chain. And actually, what we found is that the program at Gold Chain has made it probably our most exciting project going forward.
We'll talk about that in just a moment. But so I was noticing for a at least new by name company, that's starting to make sense now. I noticed you had 120 million shares already issued and outstanding. Was that part of the deal with the territory? You issued shares for those assets?
It was a 4-share transaction. So it wasn't an RTO per se. It was a 4-share transaction to do that. And that's why the share count is where it is.
All right. So I gotta ask a mean question here. You got 120 million shares issued and outstanding. You're trading, sub a dime. You're literally a penny stock as we speak.
Yeah.
As a prospective shareholder, I'm looking at that and thinking, there's got to be a rollback coming, and then a financing which would dilute me with rollback magnitude. Is that something? I mean, how cashed up are you? Do you think you're going to need to do that, or can you finance this company with the existing share structure?
So we've got about $1.5 million in cash. I would say I think I could finance this company with the existing share structure. We just raised 2.2 million in April, and so I think we could do a similar magnitude or larger again. Having been in the capital market side for 10 years, as you rightly pointed out, rollbacks are terrifying for investors, and so. There's no intention to roll back the stock. The only way you can ever do a rollback is if you have something major and transformational and a big series of news that goes with it. And, that's not our intention. So.
All right. So bite the bullet and hope to raise more money in the future at higher prices.
Yeah. The easiest, and on full disclosure, it is 120 million shares out, and that's large for a company at our stage, but also, there's 49 million warrants out as well. And that's, it's something that we have to deal with. The easiest way to deal with it is to get the share price up, but we're going to have to be proactive in how we market the company and how we get the volume up so that we can absorb that when those warrants come due. It's not I don't want to. Nothing is ever perfect, right? And so this is we have really good assets. Everything else can be fixed.
All right. Well, let's talk about those assets. I looked over the presentation when this came across my desk, and I was stricken that as you're saying, you're all excited about Gold Chain. That's where you want to drill first. Just looking at the past results, I would put them in the opposite order of the presentation. Tip Top seems to have the highest grade drill intercepts. Jefferson Canyon has one pretty good hit, and the highlights from Gold Chain look pretty modest. I guess the 52 meters of half a gram is, for a bulk deposit, the most exciting one. But 15 meters of a gram doesn't really excite me much. 20 meters of 0.7 doesn't really excite me very much. It's not enough for a bulk tonnage deposit. So why is this your priority? What am I missing here?
The historic work is this is an area, and I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson on the Oatman District, just because it fits into what we've done. This is an area that was blanketed with claims in the 1980s, and there was lots of exploration drilling, and so. And the 3 targets that we have with the highlight drilling are part of that. Part of the reason that I like Gold Chain is that we're 12 kilometers north of the Moss Mine for Northern Vertex. And if you look at their drill intercepts, they look the same as ours. And so obviously they were able to put together enough to build a resource and go forward. But those three areas those three drill results that you noted, the highlights are from 3 of our sort of what we call our historic targets. Those are Roadside, Gold Chain, and Black Dyke. We've just recently acquired a patented claim to the east of on the same trend as Roadside, but to the east of it. It's called the Banner Mine. And the Banner Mine, we've seen some really good results at surface. The vein exposure goes down, and then we recently staked to the southeast of that. And the reason we staked to the southeast is that same geology. Basically, the geology is a series of rhyolite dikes that come through that created the opening for the hydrothermal fluids to come up and make a gold deposit. And that same geology extends for another 3 kilometers to the southeast. And so basically, earlier this year, the company staked all of that ground to tie it up. So all of a sudden, and then, in the follow-up sampling program, we pulled a 5-gram sample almost at the end of the claim block of that new claim block. And so all of a sudden, now you have a large trend of a mineralization that effectively starts at Roadside, where you've got that 15 meters just over a gram. And so an economic intercept, and that continues down over a large stretch. including a past producing mine that operated for 2 years at 1916, 1918 timeframe.
All right, so it's not, here's these past holes, we're going to drill this off. It's, here are these indications, we have a new theory and more ground, we're going to test a bigger target. Is that?
That's exactly it. Yeah, and I think that's what's got me excited about, is that all of a sudden it's a big system, right? And that's when you're looking as a junior mining company, the ultimate objective for me is either to build a mine or get taken out. Preference is taken out because I know I don't have the skill set to build a mine, so that would be someone else's job. But the preference, but to get there, to get those, even to build a mine or to get taken out, you need to have scale, right? A small potty deposits aren't going to do it. And so this is why I'm actually pretty excited. I was actually down in Arizona last week.
Though it's funny that you mentioned that, because Northern Vertex happened to be able to put things together with small deposits.
Yeah, but it's scale. But if you look at Northern Vertex, what people are excited about at Northern Vertex is they built that small little 500,000 ounce deposit on the patents, right? The Moss mine is actually on patented claims, which is why we think the patents in our area are important. And then, but the geology obviously extends off the patents. It's not constrained to the boundary, and people are excited about it because of the exploration upside off the patents. And that's exactly, we're sort of replicating that with the work that we've been doing.
All right, so you have this theory. Do you have your drill targets already picked out, or do you need to do more surface or geophysics or something to before you start testing it?
Yeah, so we're getting set up to do our phase 1 drill program, and there are it's kind of phase 1A and phase 1B. So we have targets. Phase 1A is at the historic targets. Phase 1B would be in and around the Banner mine. And then for the area to the south, to the southeast, that big extension, we need to do more work. We're not quite ready to line up drill targets just yet. And so there's more surface work and stuff. And people can look forward to that. We've had guys in the field up until it's actually getting pretty hot down there now, but we've had guys in the field up until very recently, pulling samples and doing some mapping. And so we're going to get, what you'll see from us is an updated set of maps and samples over the next couple weeks. That sort of continue to highlight this thesis that we're sort of putting forward.
All right. Okay, I get it. I see what you're going after there. Are you going to be doing any drilling at Jefferson Canyon and Tip Top as well this year, or just sort of backburner them, or do more surface work, or how do they fit into your plans?
Yeah, so with Jefferson Canyon and Tip Top, we are working on Jefferson Canyon. The work we're doing on Jefferson Canyon, though, is permitting. We're getting set up to drill permit there. Or we're drill permitting there right now. And so, the anticipation, the slight difference between Gold Chain, Jefferson Canyon, and Tip Top. Jefferson Canyon and Tip Top are actually on United States Forest Service ground, so it's a little bit different permitting process. And so it's going to take a little bit longer to get those initial drill permits at Jefferson Canyon. Once we get that done, we'll be drilling. I would anticipate that we're drilling probably this time next year at Jefferson Canyon. More than likely.
All right. Well, I hope the boys in green are cooperative. I do understand the distinction there. So what would the target be at Jefferson Canyon? I noticed that you have one pretty good highlighted hole, but in your presentation, I looked at that hole, and it seems to be bracketed by a lower grade hole on either side. So, I mean, is that the starting point, or do you have, again, a completely different theory as to what you're looking for there, or what would be the objective?
Yeah. So. That in the presentation in that section, those holes are not all spatially on the same plane or on the same section, and I think one of the things to keep in mind. So what the work that the Gold79 did last year at Jefferson Canyon was basically, so there was historic drilling, but there was no sort of science, so no soil work, no geophysics, or there was geophysics, but it needed to be reprocessed. And so what we did, what the company did over the last year is they did a big soil sampling program there and identified some new targets. And basically what we've got there is a 4 square kilometer golden soil anomaly and a similar size silver anomaly. The silver anomaly is a little bit smaller. So we're getting some zonation in the epithermal system. But, the plan there is when we get to go drill, some of those historic holes actually were cut short. The deposit dips at about a 45 to 60 degree angle. And so because it dips at a 45 degree to 60 degree angle, holes that were drilled a little bit further away basically looks like they came up short on the deposit, and that's why it looks like there's some blanks in there. So our focus, the initial part of our drill program, I guess there's two parts of it. Some of it's going in to confirm these historic holes. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff was drilled in the 80s, so we don't have core, we don't have chips, we don't have anything to go back on historic data. And so, the initial program is to confirm some of that geology structure, where things are relative to what we see, but also on the sort of northwest end of the target, I guess, there is an area where there's a big gold and soil anomaly, but no historic drilling. And so we're going to be able to get up and test that as well with the initial program. Following the initial program, then it's going to be we're going to be a lot more aggressive as far as, the next step is to be more aggressive and drill towards a resource there. So.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And yeah, okay.
You can ask the question about Forest Service ground. I'm happy to answer it.
No,
it's not.
I think the audience understands the difference between Forest Service and BLM, and we'll just have to see when you get the permits.
Yeah.
And I understand about the presentation is a cartoon, and you'll have drill holes collapsed. Yeah. So they're not actually on the same site. I get it, and I think the audience is smart enough to get that too. But the okay, and the geometry that you're talking about makes sense to me. Though, of course, depending on the grade, it needs to be, if it's dipping like that, it needs to be high enough grade to justify underground mining. But I guess we find out.
It's actually it was interesting I actually went to Jefferson Canyon as well when I was down there, and what you can't translate in a presentation or an image is the three-dimensionality of it. So the Jefferson Canyon, the target of Jefferson Canyon sits in the hanging wall of the Jefferson Canyon fault, but is actually a hill, and it's kind of a crescent-shaped hill that sticks out between the mountain ranges. So if you were looking at a scenario where you're mining something that was lower grade, the initial strip ratio would actually be really favorable from that perspective.
That is it. This is one of the reasons why I like to go and kick the rocks myself and look at the projects. Yeah. Because topography doesn't tell you often much about the deposit, but it helps you understand how things would work or not.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. Okay. And I get it conceptually. I get that one. Then talk to me a bit more about Tip Top. Then, if it looks like somebody drilled just a bunch of vertical holes right close to each other. Why would they do that?
Those are really good intercepts, but they're really good intercepts because they're drilled straight down the vein. And the reason you see in that section, you see holes right down the vein that look good, and then outside that are a little bit off. In our program last year, what we did was we did some trenching across the top of those veins, and so we got similar grades, and it's still decent widths. The trenches pulled 6.7 meters at 11.8, 4.7 at 10.3 across the top of those veins. So the grades and widths are still good, and it's still very good. Not quite as good as some of those drill holes suggest because they are straight down the vein, but there are some good numbers in there, and it is an interesting project from that perspective. For us on Tip Top, while we really like it and we want to get out there and drill, it is because it's also Forest Service ground. It's got a longer permitting timeline. It has become the third project, whether we like it a lot, but it just by the nature of not being able to do. We're a small company. Even if we had all three sets of drill permits in hand, I don't know if we could drill all three projects at the same time. So from a capital perspective and from a personnel perspective. So it's become the third project for us. Still very good. Part of the reason I like this company is any one of the three projects could probably justify our market cap based on the results. That's what I think, at least. And so,
okay, fair enough. And I have no problem with confirmation drilling. You got to start somewhere. If you don't have the drill core from before, you're going to need some of that anyway for 43-101 rules. I get all that. Just do me a favor and don't put, this is a twin at page 27 on the press release. If you're going to confirm all holes, it should be right in the first paragraph. This is confirmation drilling, and we have confirmation. Yeah. But okay. So
now that's something that drove me nuts as well, sitting on your side of the camera.
I understand. You need to be able to communicate your progress, and you don't want to. There's always going to be so many warts on every project that if you focus on all the warts, no mining project would ever get built. I get that. Right. I understand. But it's good to be pretty transparent about what you're doing and why, what it does show, what it doesn't show. So Forest Service, we're unlikely to see either of those drilled this year. Maybe next year if all goes well. So it's really about gold chain then for this year. The goal then is not just confirmation though drilling; it's also testing, right? The banner, there's no hole to confirm there. That's exploring a new target.
This is exploring a new target.
If Mother Nature is kind to you, what would be the deliverables this year from your exploration efforts?
I think if Mother Nature is kind to us, I think what we would do through a combination of drilling and sampling, we would start to confirm the scale of the trend. I think that's what I want to be able to communicate to the market. We're going to do some. I mean, at Gold besides the drilling, there's also going to be some geophysics because I want to be able, to tie it. It's a structurally controlled deposit, and so obviously that's going to be important. Be able to show that through the geophysics, and I think so. Those are really. It's really about demonstrating scale right now, and then as we get into phase 2, it's going to be taking some of those areas where we're demonstrating scale with sampling and demonstrating scale with drilling, and then if I had to, look out maybe a year, 18 months to 2 years, phase 3 drilling is looking at if Mother Nature is kind. I'm going to preface it with that. It's looking at resource delineation drilling. So that's kind of how I would look at Gold Chain as a project. But I think first step one is to make sure Mother Nature's kind and improve some of this trend.
So does the cash in hand pay for phase 2 or just phase 1?
Just phase 1. We're going to have we're planning. I mean, once we complete the phase 1, we'll have to come back to the market,
and hopefully at higher prices. So when does Truth Machine start turning, do you think?
So we are anticipating that it will start. We're anticipating in June right now. However, it is actually very difficult to get drillers at this moment in the Southwest U.S. A combination of free money and and the fact that all the junior mining companies have money to go drill has made it shortage on labor and high demand on rigs. So that has
and the assay labs are backed up too.
Interesting. We just had a set of we had a set of samples that took 2 months to come back. It was only 60 samples, which isn't that many from a overall numbers perspective. So yeah, that's backed up as well. So like I said, we are expecting in June, but I don't have a certainty on that yet. So.
All right. Okay. But so let's say, hopefully June, but if not, you start in July.
Yeah.
The first program isn't going to be a whole lot of meters. It's, maybe 5,000 meters or?
Yeah. The phase, the initial, I've kind of broken it up into phase 1A and 1B. 1A is the confirmation drilling. 1B is is up at the banner. Total will be around 3,000 meters is our rough estimation.
Okay. So.
Small, but it's
right. I'm still thinking about the timing, right? So, so the timing is probably results not before September, maybe plus or minus. Okay, and that's paid for, so it's really all up to the Truth Machine now. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting, Derek. I looked over the presentation, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I looked at that, and it seemed to me that the projects were like in reverse order of interest,
right,
from what you could tell. So I understand the logic of what you're doing. And of the other stuff in the portfolio, is there any chance, your joint ventures will add a little excitement here, or is that pretty much on their back burners too? So
the joint venture at Tavici actually has sort of got some new life breathed into it. Previously, Tavici's in Mexico. We're our partner. The explorer now is Fortuna Silver. It was Minorum. Minorum, Tavici is very close to Fortuna's ground, or one of Fortuna's mines. And so Minorum did a deal with Fortuna. They took over the operatorship of the agreement. We have a passive 20% interest. And if Fortuna has success, which I expect they will, because it is a good target, we'll get, if they elect to buy us out, there's $1 million U.S. payment coming our way for that. So not as exciting for us because our upside's a little bit capped there.
But it does cash you up without dilution.
Right, exactly. And then the other one is in our other JV is at a project called Greyhound with Agnico Eagle, close to their Meadowbank project, in the same complex as their Meadowbank project. There is some drilling happening. I think that if there's some success there, I think if Agnico moves to be more aggressive, I think that could be some exciting and push the stock a little bit. We're we have a 37% interest right now in that project. But as Agnico spends money, we could be diluted. We have an option to fund a match, but right now we're being diluted. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for my questions right now. Unless you have some other project up your sleeve that you want to bring to my attention, no. I think I understand what you're shooting for here. So, the final question I always ask all my guests, I have to say, if you want me to put my hard-earned money into this play, how much of your own cash, not free options, have you put into this company?
So I own about 3% of the company. The company did a financing that closed in April this year. I was the lead order on that financing. I think I wrote a check for $270,000 myself to get that 3% position. It's my position is 100% bought. I do have some options, but all of my position is bought. There isn't. I didn't get any cheap stock. I don't have I don't have founder shares. There's none of those things. I bought all my, my average price is right around 8 cents, like everybody else's.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, you've been a good sport, Derek. I appreciate you giving me some straight answers to these questions. Good luck with the Truth Machine. Let us know how it turns out.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the time to interview me, and thanks to your subscribers for listening in.
Okay. All right. If you enjoyed or found value in what you just saw, and you're watching this on any sort of social media, please do hit the like button and the share link. Send this on to anybody you think might be interested. That helps us out a lot. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit the subscribe button as well. The number of subscribers helps us get more valuable content to you as well. On the subject of subscribing, I'll quickly say that if you're not a subscriber to our free weekly Speculators Digest, I encourage you to sign up. I promise if you do, we will not send you a flood of daily advertisements. You get one free weekly digest with original research not published anywhere else. Check it out at independentspeculator.com. Thank you and have a great day.